What is going on, Crimson Tide fans? Chris Daughtry here with the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Alabama's fall camp is set to begin tomorrow, so we're going to do some more position breakdowns, some offensive depth chart predictions on today's video, all via BamaOnline's Charlie Potter. He listed both offense and defense. We're going to do offense today, and we're going to do defense tomorrow. I do want to say as well, there's not many, if any, surprises on this, but I do think there are some notable questions and some notable storylines going into fall camp. Before we get into that, though, make sure you guys, if you are excited for Alabama football, I know it's just practice, but the buzz is really starting to, build here for the Crimson Tide. If you're excited for fall practice, make sure you get down there and spam your RTRs down in the comment section. We are trying to beat that July record of 127 comments on a single video. I think we can do it. The most comments on today's video will get a shout out on a future video, so get down there. Make sure you guys show your excitement and spam those RTRs down in the comment section. All right, let's start off with the quarterback position here, and there are zero surprises here on Charlie Potter's predictions. Ty Simpson, as of right now, is going to be your starter going into fall camp. Biggest question for him, is he going to be, as consistent as he was during spring camp? Is he going to be able to hold on to that starting position? Because I think Austin Mack and Keelan Russell are right there on his heels, and I don't think that leash is going to be as long as Jalen Milroe's was last year. I think this is a legit quarterback battle for that quarterback one spot. But as of right now, going into fall camp, Ty Simpson is going to be your starter. All right, over to the running back spots now. Also, no really any surprises here. Jam Miller, definitely going to be your starter at that spot. Richard Young, Daniel Hill, Dre Washington, all listed as challengers. And then Kevin Riley and A.K. Deere listed as those reserve guys. It's going to be interesting to see who RB2 is, I think, is my biggest question for this running back room. And also, can they stay healthy for the entirety of the season? But I think really it's going to be between Richard Young and Daniel Hill. But one of those guys gets banged up. Dre Washington's there as well. And who knows? Maybe Dre Washington had an incredible summer as well. There wasn't a ton of buzz around him during that springtime. So we'll see here in fall camp if Dre Washington can really make a push for, that running back 2/3 spot here for the Crimson Tide. That's what Charlie Potter said about Alabama's running back room heading into the 2025 season. He said running back is one of the more intriguing position groups on Alabama's 2025 roster because of how many players look ready for meaningful snaps. Miller is back after leading the group in carries and rushing yards last season, and he is expected to be the top option out of the backfield. But Richard Young and Daniel Hill are two promising returners, while the Crimson Tide added Dre Washington, a redshirt senior, via the transfer portal. It is hard to imagine Alabama playing 4 running backs, but a 3-man rotation seems likely. But the question will be exactly which 3. So I want to hear from you guys here at the pinned comment of today's video. My biggest question is who is actually going to be running back 2 for Alabama this season? Let me know what you guys think. Who has more carries in 2025? Type DH if you think it's going to be Daniel Hill, or type RY if you think it's going to be Richard Young. I think 2 very different style backs there, but I want to hear from you guys down at the pinned comment of today's video. Let's go over to wide receiver now, and in my opinion, one of the more exciting position groups on this entire roster, offense and defense. These 3 guys right here, Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, all hopefully are going to be set for big seasons. Ryan Williams was doing a live stream yesterday, and he was like, guys, you don't really realize how much stuff I was going through last season. This season is really going to be in store for a real breakout. So hopefully that actually happens there for Ryan Williams. But Jeremy Bernard, also the possibility to go in the 1st or 2nd round of next year's NFL draft. And Isaiah Horton coming out of Miami is really set for a big season as well. The big question is, though, who are going to be those challengers? Who are going to be those reliable backups to come onto the field when one of those guys comes off the field? Rico Scott, Jalen Hale, Cole Adams, and Latsier Brooks all listed there by Charlie Potter for the top wide receiver challengers. I think Rico Scott and Jalen Hale are set to have pretty decent seasons. If we can get, 300-400 yards out of, those guys, I think that would be incredible. Cole Adams and Jalen Hale both coming off of injuries from last season. And then Latsier Brooks, the true freshman out of New Jersey, Got a lot of buzz during the springtime as well. So I don't necessarily, think he's going to be a guy that gets a ton of playing time, with Rico Scott, Jalen Hale, and Cole Adams out there. But he is definitely going to be one to monitor and see if his snap share does go up throughout the season. And then you also have some of these reserve wide receivers. I do think, I guess respect to Jalen Mbakwe for saying, hey, I want to be a wide receiver. I don't want to be a DB. But it is going to hurt his playing time this year. I don't think Jalen Mbakwe is going to get a lot of playing time this year at that wide receiver spot unless one of those guys goes down and, he's going to end up being one of those next guys up there. But, respect to him for saying this is what I want and going out there and getting it. And also with all that drama, him possibly hitting the transfer portal or not last offseason, he's still on the team here as well. So we'll see what happens with him. Then you got Bubba Hampton and Derek Meadows as well. I believe Arian Hampton got, he was kind of banged up a lot last season as well. But we'll see. He might just be one of those guys that, hey, it might take a couple of years for him to actually get on the field with some meaningful playing time. That's not a bad thing at all. Sometimes it takes those guys, a couple of seasons to actually get into the fold there. And Derek Meadows, big body guy, but he is a true freshman. We'll see how far he goes this season. All right, we'll continue on here in just a second, but this is a really, really good deal. Since the last time we did a shout out for this quarter zip, it's actually dropped in price. It was $90, then it went down to $55, and now it is $45 just by going to chatsports.com/BamaQTR zip. QTR because it's a quarter zip. And I know, guys, it's really hot right now, but the best time of the year actually to get your winter gear is when it's hot because that's when it's on sale. So do not miss out on this sale just by going to chatsports.com/BamaQTR zip. It was $90, then it was $55. Now it is even lower at its lowest price so far at $45. So if you guys want that, I'll have that link down in the comment section and the description of today's video. All right. Excuse me. Let's go over to the tight end spot here. Josh Cuevas. You guys know how much I really enjoyed Josh Cuevas last year. I think he's up for a big-time season. And even going back to, Washington when Kalen DeBoer was there, they had Jack Westover, and he was really treated as, kind of like a wide receiver 5 at times. And he really was able to, have a lot of production for Washington when Kalen DeBoer was there. I think Josh Cuevas, who, by the way, also transferred in from Washington 2 seasons ago when Kalen DeBoer came, I think he's just up for another really good season here. This is one actually is going to be very interesting to me. Who is going to be, that tight end 2/tight end 3? Charlie Potter had both Brody Dalton, the Troy transfer that you got, in the offseason, and then Danny Lewis Jr. also as a challenger. In my opinion, I would probably put Danny Lewis Jr. above Brody Dalton. Not saying that this is any type of order or anything like that, but, it is intriguing because Alabama does like to play 2 to 3 tight ends in any different type of packages and things like that. So, they like those blocking tight ends. I think Danny Lewis Jr. and Brody Dalton are really going to be those guys, but Josh Cuevas did also put on a little bit more weight over the offseason as well. So I think all 3 of those guys are very, very intriguing for Alabama at that tight end position this year. And then some of the reserve that Charlie Potter had listed. Yeah, Jay Lindsey, Jackson Marco, the transfer that you got from West Virginia, Marshall Pritchett, and Caleb Edwards. Obviously, Caleb Edwards didn't get on campus until the summertime, so he missed out all of spring. Marshall Pritchett ended up getting injured during the springtime. So Alabama at one point during the spring was really down to like 1 tight end, and they just ended up shutting him down because, it didn't want to get any more other guys hurt. But Jay Lindsey's also going to be another one. We'll see if, going into year 2, if he can really make any kind of an impact there. But I think, I kind of agree with Charlie there. It's going to be Josh Cuevas, Brody Dalton, and Danny Lewis Jr. Probably going to be your top 3 guys there. But who knows? We'll see. That was a really banged up group last season. Definitely, helps that you went out and you added 2 more transfers to that tight end room. And you also were able to get Danny Lewis Jr. Remember, he entered the transfer portal, and then they got him to come back. So that was also a very, very positive thing there. And I also want to make note, too, I do think Danny Lewis Jr. is a better athlete than a lot of times he's gotten credit for in his Alabama career. I think he can go out there and be a pass catcher just like Josh Cuevas can as well. But this is actually what Charlie Potter, kind of his rationale behind the Brody Dalton being up there. what he's got to say here on Alabama's tight end room. He said the Tide's tight end position received a much-needed boost after spring practice as Brody Dalton and Jackson Marco transferred in and Caleb Edwards finally enrolled. All three could push for playing time, and with this being Dalton's final year of eligibility, we think he might challenge for reps early. Josh Cuevas is undoubtedly Alabama's top tight end and can be in for a breakout year from a stats standpoint. Danny Lewis Jr. missed the spring due to an injury, but the Alabama coaches wanted him to return for a reason. Jay Lindsey and Marshall Pritchett are also intriguing younger options. Make sure you guys are subscribed right here to the Alabama Football Report as well. We are closing in on 500 new subscribers here in the month of July, which during the offseason, 500 new subscribers here on a smaller channel is a very, very positive thing. We are only 13 away, so once Alabama really starts to get into fall camp, we're going to have updates for you guys. Any more recruiting news that gets out there, we put out an update yesterday on Anthony Tank Jones, the 5-star edge rusher. So if you didn't see that, go back to yesterday's video and watch that as well. And also, because you guys here are the blood and sweat and tears of the Alabama Football Report, we're Chat Sports for a reason, because you guys are actually the ones that make up the community here at the Alabama Football Report. I wanted to give some shout-outs to some recent subscribers as well. 13 Perry, CSN, Kobe, Angie Glass, and then Showtime Media Network. I appreciate you guys for subscribing right here to the Alabama Football Report, and hopefully we will see you guys during our live Alabama watch parties as well for every single Alabama football game. Let's go over to the offensive line now, the interior offensive line starters. No surprise, really. Well, maybe one kind of opinion/surprise here. Parker Brailsford, Jaden Roberts, no surprise there. But then Charlie had Kam Dewberry listed as the starter at left guard. I think that one's going to be very, very interesting because it's going to be between Kam Dewberry and Geno VanDeMark. He did have Geno VanDeMark listed as the top interior offensive line challengers for Alabama. That one's just going to be a really interesting battle because Kam Dewberry has played a lot at Texas A&M in 3 seasons, had over 1,100 snaps, but really wasn't able to solidify himself as a starter. Geno VanDeMark, kind of the same, path that he's taken. But last year, I thought, throughout the season, he did impress me as the season went on. Had to go in and out for Jaden Roberts, and when he was in there, did a pretty damn decent job. And then Ola Salinen as well was listed as a top, challenger there, which he could play he could play at that guard position. He could also, they worked him a lot at that tackle position just because of the lack of tackle depth that we'll talk about here in just a second. But some of those reserve interior offensive linemen, Rock Montgomery, William Sanders, Casey Poe, Joseph Ionata, Michael Carroll, Micah DeBose, all, obviously you got the true freshmen there that don't have any playing experience. But Michael Carroll does look extremely intriguing, and, I think Casey Poe and, Joseph Ionata are going to be some of those guys that get a little bit more playing time at maybe center. Let me see. I'm just kind of quickly looking up here, Casey Poe's, snap. They've actually got him. He's only played 8 snaps in his career at right guard, so I think he started a little bit, during his freshman year, during practice and stuff at center, but I think he could kind of play anywhere, to be honest with you guys. But those are the reserve offensive linemen on the interior for Alabama next season. So because left guard is one of the biggest position battles on this Alabama team right now, I want to hear from you guys. I know we've asked this question a lot, and honestly, we're probably going to continue to ask it until we actually get a definitive answer. Who do you guys think will be the left guard for Alabama this season? Type KD if you think it's going to be Kam Dewberry, or type GV if you think Geno VanDeMark ends up winning that left guard battle. Let's go over to offensive tackle now in the last position group here from Charlie Potter. Caden Proctor, Wilkin, Formby are the 2 offensive tackle starters that you have. I don't think there's any real surprise there. Maybe Wilkin, Formby. I know a lot of people are very nervous about Wilkin Formby considering last year, start off in the first game of the season was really good. Second game of the season was really bad. But then, as he, got some of that learning experience, I thought towards the end of the season, Wilkin Formby did a whole lot better, and I really hope, and I think there's a lot of buzz out there from Wilkin Formby too, that he has had some growth during the offseason. Hopefully that consistency level can be higher for Wilkin Formby this year, because just cannot go out there and have, 5-6 penalties in a single game, which, took 3 touchdowns, I think, off the board during South Florida last season. Hopefully he can be a whole lot better, because Alabama's depth at that offensive tackle position is just lacking a lot. You only have 2 guys really as depth, really offensive tackle challengers here from Charlie Potter. It's Jackson Lloyd and Arkell Engwam, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Still really haven't gotten a pronunciation for it, though. But I'm very excited about Jackson Lloyd. He's one of the top, players in all of that 2025 recruiting class. And we've seen in the past, Caden Proctor was able to start as a freshman. So, if Wilkin Formby, has those struggles early on, I would not be surprised one bit if either, maybe Ola Salinen, but especially Jackson Lloyd got some playing time at that right guard spot. We'll see about Arkell, what he can do for Alabama. But this is what Charlie Potter also said about Alabama's offensive tackle depth. He said, again, Ola Salinen could be listed here, but with Caden Proctor set to be back on the field for fall camp, we included him with the offensive guards after being limited during the spring. Proctor should be at his old post at left tackle, where he is poised to start for a 3rd straight season. Wilkin Formby is also the heavy favorite to claim the starting right tackle position after Elijah Pritchett chose to transfer. The former started 2 games after last year. Started 2 games last year. Excuse me, I can't read here. But after a rough start, he showed signs of progress later in the season. Alabama needs for Formby to take the next step in his 3rd year. Man, getting through that quote was, kind of like Wilkin Formby getting through last season. Really, solid at the start, but then kind of the middle wasn't very good, but then ended at a pretty solid pace there. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. Will Wilkin Formby be better in 2025? I think the majority of people should hope that the answer is going to be yes, but I want to hear from you guys what you think the answer will actually be. Type Y for yes or N for no. Do you guys think Wilkin Formby will be better this season?